Harold Bergstrom was 60 years old, a retired woodworker, a quiet man who had spent most of his life surrounded by pine trees, wild rivers, and the kind of silence that only the wilderness could give. He lived alone in a small wooden cabin on the edge of Glacier Valley, Montana. To Harold, solitude wasn't loneliness, it was peace. He loved the smell of cedar, the crackle of the fire, and the simple joy of cooking his own meals. On March 30th, 2025, that peace was shattered. No one would ever forget what happened inside that small cabin. When a creature from the wild broke through the walls of man's safety. That evening, Harold was soaking venison meat, preparing it for jerky the next day. The rich raw scent drifted through the cracks of his window and out into the cold March air. Outside, the snow was melting, and in the forest beyond, something stirred. A massive grizzly bear, nearly 8 feet tall, was moving through the valley, hungry, restless, desperate after a long winter. The scent of raw meat carried far, and for a bear that hadn't eaten properly in weeks, that smell was an irresistible call. But Harold didn't know. He was in his room, filling a glass of water, humming softly to himself, unaware that death had already stepped onto his porch. Before we continue, and if you're watching this right now, take a second to like this video, subscribe, and tell us in the comments what country you're watching from. And if you're proud of it, drop your flag emoji below. Now, let's return to Harold, because what happens next is every wilderness dweller's worst nightmare. The bear pushed against the wooden door, once, twice, and on the third push, it gave way. The door frame split, glass shattered, and suddenly, the kitchen was no longer Harold's. Pots crashed to the ground. A jar of honey exploded across the counter. The smell of meat filled the air like a beacon, and the bear growled low, its massive shoulders brushing against the hanging pans. When Harold heard the noise, he froze. He thought maybe a raccoon had gotten in, but as he stepped into the hallway, he saw movement, something dark, massive, alive. And when the bear lifted its head and turned, their eyes met. For one unbearable moment, both man and beast just stared. Then the bear roared, a sound so loud it shook the glass in the windows. Harold stumbled backward, reaching for the corner, where his rifle hung on a rack near the fireplace. But fear makes the world slow. Every step felt heavy, every breath a struggle. The bear lunged forward, claws tearing through the table, ripping it apart like paper. Harold reached out, fingers brushing the wooden stock of his gun, but before he could lift it, the bear slammed into him. The force threw him to the floor. The room filled with the sound of splintering wood, crashing metal, in a single desperate cry. Harold tried to crawl. He tried to reach for the rifle again, but the bear was faster. Its jaws closed around his shoulder, crushing bone, dragging him backward toward the kitchen tiles. Blood streaked across the floor. Neighbors later said they heard screams, echoing through the valley. But by the time anyone arrived, the cabin was silent. Inside, the walls were torn, the counters overturned, and Harold was gone. The grizzly had done what nature demanded, and when the wildlife rangers arrived the next morning, they found Harold's rifle on the floor, unfired, just inches from his hand. He never had a chance. A lifetime surrounded by nature, ended by the very wild he loved. Stories like this remind us that the wilderness is not cruel, it's honest. The bear didn't hate Harold, it didn't plan. It simply followed the oldest law of survival, hunger. And sometimes that law crosses into our world. We build walls, doors, fences, but out here, none of that truly separates us. The line between safety and danger is thinner than we think. If Harold's story teaches anything, it's that respect for nature must never fade, because nature doesn't forgive forgetfulness. The bear was later tracked 2 miles from the cabin, resting beneath a pine ridge. Wildlife officials found remnants of meat, both from the venison Harold soaked and, heartbreakingly, from him. The bear was put down, but the valley never felt the same again. Today, the cabin still stands. Its door replaced, its windows boarded. Visitors say they can still see claw marks on the kitchen wall. A silent reminder of what happened on March 30th, 2025. Harold Bergstrom, a man who loved peace, met the wild in its purest, most brutal form. If you made it this far, take a moment to breathe. These stories aren't just about death, they're about life and how fragile it really is. If you're proud of where you come from, drop your country's name or flag emoji in the comments below. And if you believe stories like this should be told, subscribe, like, and share this video to help others remember Harold's final lesson, that nature always has the last word.